The world of Ghost of Yotei is a visual masterpiece, a land of beauty and brutality. None of it is accidental. Every line, color, and silhouette is a deliberate choice. To uncover how this world was shaped, Cutscene Collective sat down with Joanna Wang, production art director at Sucker Punch. With over 20 years of shaping iconic franchises like Sly Cooper, Infamous, and Ghost of Tsushima, Joanna offers a rare look into how art design becomes storytelling. This is the craft behind Yotei's world, its costumes, its regions, its characters, and the language that makes it unforgettable. Ghost of Yotei's protagonist Atsu was an opportunity for Sucker Punch to tell a new origin story, where Jin, the previous lead in Ghost of Tsushima, embodied honor and discipline. Atsu embodies survival and memory. Her layered fabrics and earthy tones root her among the people, not the samurai like Jin. From the start, Joanna's team sought a visual history, a character whose design reflected her rebirth.
Atsu is offer a unique opportunity for us and then have that fresh perspective view when we're designing her. And then we always love a character who carried the story, with all the things we were thinking of. And then we designed her with the life she had before. And we also designed her with, the journey ahead of her. So we look at everything as a whole overall. So using the first Atsu's costume, the yellow color as example, and when the night her family getting taken away from her, and then she was painted on that ginkgo tree. That ginkgo tree is almost like a big umbrella for her house, right? And then yellow striking leaves, and then they burned that tree, and all the yellow leaves falling down become ash, and she was painted on the tree and then almost nearly to death. Later when she come back, she's wearing that yellow clothes. That's almost like she's a she remembered the past, remember that story, and gave a player the hint of the pain and the scar in her heart, and then never go away.
The next time you're playing the game, notice Atsu more intently. As the one thing the player sees the most, Atsu herself was designed as a walking ledger of story beats. Her clothes, weapons, and the smallest details all record the life she once had and the vengeance she carries forward. Joanna described the single piece of clothing that anchored her design from day one.
The sash is almost literally the very first item we designed for her, and then we never changed since then. Because we know we want to make that revenge story. We know we're going to have that Yōtei Six, and then we were just thinking about how to represent this, and we made that sash. It's interesting way because this become our first design elements, and that become the signature of her. And on the top of that, of course, we're adding a lot of other elements because, again, based on her story, when her story is getting deeper and deeper, and when we are our narrative team and start building up the whole story, we are putting a shamisen on her back that's connected with her mother. And in some visual way, we actually, creating very interesting silhouette for her too. And how she lived, how she being survived. She's not living in a fancy life, right? So she's having, you're probably in the wild, in the outdoor, and then you sometimes sleep in the woods, and then or sleep in the right next of a river, and then you camping, in anywhere. So you don't have that roof above you always. So she have a hat. That's a kind of another protection to show her life is tough in that way. And so a lot of detail elements are being added into, and I do want to go into also add her katana. And the tsuba of her katana is a twin wolf, and the representing she's a keeper reminding her brother. So a lot of those details is always some of the story behind, and we add it together for her.
The sash is not an accessory, it's a reminder of grief and intent. The shamisen, her katana's twin wolf tsuba, and her hat are all connective tissue of mother, brother, and life on the road. Joanna told me they may have updated the kanji on Atsu's sash once they fleshed out the Yōtei Six's names to make the characters more proper, but the initial design itself never changed. This all shows Sucker Punch's design process that intersects between visual and narrative, an approach which you'll notice is constant across development. Atsu's journey is a revenge story. As a child, her family was murdered by a gang known as the Yōtei Six. Joanna spoke to us about how each of the Six's backstories deeply informed their appearance.
Using the Oni as the example, in his previous, before he became to the Yotei Six, he is a former samurai. So he's very proud of himself. He's have that glory, and then that shows from his costume, from his armor, and his the costume of the red color theme is also show that too. And because he is thirsty for that power, and then he think he is that, still is that samurai person who is really strong and then almost like powerful, right? And then so he was like, the body feeling is like larger and then feel muscular and then buy through those armors and everything. And then he also is, we call him Oni, and then the Oni theme is also showing around up here, with his mask, with his helmet. And we take a little bit of idea from the Kabuki theater set dressing, the costume design as well too. And in the other hand, you may notice he's holding the big weapon, and he's holding that long sword, and then that creating another level. Feel he is big, he's muscular, he's powerful. So everything is surrounded by the center of who this character is, what their life being living before, and what they were doing now, and what journey they're going forward. And like he did not give up his mask, even have that cut broken, because he think that was part of his glory. He want to hold it. He don't want to give up.
Joanna's takeaway is simple. A boss's look is not simply decoration. It's a biography. Armor, color, and silhouette become shorthand for who the Yōtei Six were, and who they pretend to be, like the deceptive Kitsune and their army of shinobi.
In the snow area, and then they basically is living and breathing in the cold weather. And it is like all snow and everywhere. So that's why their costume is white, because they're sneaky. They're ambush you. They get to jump out from the snow-covered bush, surprise you. And then, you feel the space is dangerous. And then that's who they are. And then they are not played the regular rule like other enemies does. So, but because in the cold area, and you may notice he have a little bit heavier fabric on him, even as the white color, and then because they're representing the climate of the area. So a lot of those details adding together, and then we go through multiple time over and over, and then that's where we build all the characters where they are now.
The Yōtei Six see more than just boss fights. They represent forces of nature, like fire and ice. Or maybe they represent stages of Atsu's grief. Sucker Punch designed the regions of Yōtei as distinct chapters, each defined by its villain. Each one has been given a personalized army, a unique environment, and a visual identity so strong it corrupts the landscape around them. By this point, the art direction begins to merge seamlessly with gameplay. Joanna explained how the environmental design evolved from concept sketches into spaces that play differently. How fire and snow were used to not just decorate the world, but to shape the way you move through it.
Every region we're being a prototype design for the multiple of a different look, a different paths, and then we eventually, it's almost like we feel we only need to centralize the one is really strong and able to representing the area. And then I think we also been looking at that massive land, how we able to fill the space, and then with interesting content, but not overwhelming, because you still want to show the vast land in the Ishikari plan. And there is a lot of a forest, and you can see the forest burned down, and then you can see the place is the they're using the fire to scare people, right? Yeah. And you may also notice when the bomb was running over, it will burn the grass. So you are stealthing, and then you suddenly realize you don't have a place to stealth, right? And then we are looking into those elements when we are making the Ishikari plan, and if we find that this is pretty interesting, and then we start kind of adding into other area too. So I would say we go through so many of different prototype, and then but we want to centralize them and then to fulfill the player fantasy. So how we set up each area and actually have a little bit of the different own theme for that.
This is the genius of Ghost of Yotei's visual language, where every costume, environment, and color palette is a sentence in a larger story. Joanna's team built a world rich with narrative shorthand. The result is an experience that transcends gameplay. You don't just fight your enemies, you also come to understand their story. If you want to know how this all plays, again, watch my Ghost of Yotei review and the follow-up. Those videos cover combat, pacing, and my thoughts on whether the design choices pay off in the moment to moment. We also have several Ghost of Tsushima video essays exploring Jin's tragic journey. If you've enjoyed the video, it truly helps if you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to support us here at Cutscene Collective, where we explore the stories behind your favorite games. Let us know your thoughts below, and until the next one, be good to each other.